Welcome to IAS project. You are watching lectures on ancient Indian history for UPSC Civil Services exam. These videos are also useful for all state PCS exams. If you want to watch these lectures in Hindi language, please go to my other channel, that is IAS Project Hindi. The link for this channel is given in the description section of this video. We have divided study of past into three parts. The first one was called as prehistory, the second one was called as proto history, and the third one was called as history. Now let's look at the first one, that is prehistory. Prehistory is nothing but study of such part of past where writing has not been invented yet. This is the simplest definition one can give for prehistory. So, in case of prehistoric periods, we do not have any written records available from that time. I hope you understood this. So, if we do not have written records from such time, how do we know about prehistoric period? We know about prehistoric period mainly from archaeological remains. What do we mean by archaeological remains? Remains that are left by people. For example, stone tools, pottery, the type of pots they used, burials, artifacts. Burials sometimes also include fossils that are found, okay? Also metal implements and the cave paintings those people did. All these are nothing but evidences which are called as archaeological remains. Using all these archaeological remains, we can get some kind of idea about the people who lived in that prehistoric period. When we say prehistoric period, it generally means from a time period of 2 million years ago to 12,000 years ago. This time period generally is called as prehistoric period because during this period writing was not invented. Now in geography we have a period called as Pleistocene epoch. Pleistocene epoch roughly coincides with prehistoric period because Pleistocene epoch timeline was something like this: 2.6 million years ago to 11,700 years ago. So if we look at both these timelines, this timeline and this timeline, they are almost matching. However, you have to remember that when we say prehistoric period, it is a history terminology. But when we say Pleistocene epoch, it is a geography or geology terminology. So if we talk about examples of prehistory, Stone Age forms the most or the largest part of prehistory because during the Stone Age, writing was not invented. Also, most of the Chalcolithic cultures belong to prehistoric period. What is Chalcolithic? We have already learned this. Chalco means copper, lithic means stone. So Chalcolithic is also called as copper stone or copper stone culture is Chalcolithic culture. So Stone Age and many Chalcolithic cultures belong to prehistory. What is prehistory again? Prehistory is such period of time when writing was not invented. Now, the second part is called as proto history. Now, the definition of proto history is very simple. For any part of the past to be called as proto history, it has to satisfy two conditions. What are the two conditions? First one is written records from that time should either be not available or they may be available but they have not been deciphered yet. Now, what is deciphered or decipherment or cipher? It is very simple. If you look at this picture, you can see a Harappan seal. Particularly if you want to name this seal, it was called as unicorn seal. On this unicorn seal, you can see a kind of unicorn and you can also see some script above. As of today, we do not know what this script means. Decipherment simply means to decipher or understand each letter that is shown here. We do not know about Harappan script. So Harappan script has not been deciphered yet. So we said that for any past to be called proto history, it has to satisfy two conditions. What is the first condition? The first condition is that written records from that past should either be not available, like in the case of Stone Age, or may be available but have not been deciphered yet, as in the case of Harappa. The second condition that also should be satisfied is there should be references of that past or of that culture in other contemporary literature. What do we mean by the word contemporary? It is very simple. Belonging to same time period. For example, I can say Jawaharlal Nehru and Mahatma Gandhi are contemporaries, which means that they lived during the same time period. So similarly, contemporary of Harappa was Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. So ancient Egypt, Harappan civilization as well as Mesopotamian civilization, they were contemporaries. So if we look at the examples of proto history, Harappan culture is called as proto history. Why? Because Harappan script has not been deciphered yet, but there are references of Harappan culture in the contemporary Mesopotamian literature. So that is why Harappan culture is called as proto history. Another example is Aryan culture or the Vedic culture. Vedic culture is called as a proto history because Vedas were originally not written. They were transferred from a guru to a shishya in an oral tradition. What do we mean by this? This means that the student who was learning the Vedas at that time during the Vedic culture or Vedic civilization period was not going to library or not going to read from a book. Instead, he was learning from a guru who already knew it. So guru used to teach it by reciting the Vedas and Shishya used to learn it. So we do not have any written evidence from the Vedic culture period. However, Vedas and Vedic literature still survive even today. For example, in the case of Hindu marriages and festivals, Vedas are still recited even today. So Vedas are still surviving. We still know about them, although there are no written records available of the Vedic culture. So Vedic culture is also considered as proto-history. However, the definition of proto-history is not same according to all anthropologists or all historians. There is a different definition also. Let's see the definition. The second definition of proto-history is like this. Proto-history generally refers to time period which is between the beginning of agriculture production up to the advent of Iron Age. So when agriculture started, from that period onwards to when iron began to be used, this period or this timeline between these two events is often called as proto-history. If we go by this definition, many Neolithic as well as Chalcolithic cultures fall under proto-history. So let me repeat it very quickly. For any past to be called as proto-history, it has to satisfy two conditions. First condition is that written records should either be not available or not deciphered. The second condition is, although they are not available or not deciphered, there should be references of that culture in other contemporary literature. This was the first definition. The second definition is that the time period between the beginning of agriculture production and the advent of Iron Age. If we go by this definition, Neolithic and Chalcolithic cultures are often called as proto-history. This definition, that is the second definition, is very famous in European culture or European history. Okay, in the case of India, we generally use this first definition. Let's go forward. Now, the third category of study of past is history. History generally refers to such part of past where written records are available. And then in order to read those written records, the script as well as the language has to be deciphered. So if there are written records available and the script and language has been deciphered, then study of such past is called as history. For example, ancient Egyptian culture is called as a part of history, not prehistory or proto-history. Why? Because ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic script has already been deciphered. Similarly, ancient Mesopotamian culture is also called as a study of history. Why? Because Mesopotamian cuneiform script has also been deciphered. If you want to take a modern example, study of Indian independence movement is also called as a study of history because hundreds and thousands of books are already available if you want to know about Indian independence. However, Harappan culture or Harappan civilization is not considered as a study of history. Why? Because Harappan script has not yet been deciphered. If you want to watch this video in Hindi, please go to IAS Project Hindi channel. I have given the link for this channel in the description box below. Also, please join Telegram channel if you want to get material, presentation, notes, practice questions as well as mock tests. The link for the Telegram channel is also given in the description below.